My name is Jan McDonald, and this is my story. I'm not going to tell you when I was born because that'll give my age away, but suffice it to say I was born a long time ago, and my story would be really long if you gave me enough time. My dad was an alcoholic, and my mom and my dad had this really fun relationship going, and they really didn't have enough time to spend raising their kids, so to speak. And so we knew that we were loved, but he didn't show it so much because I don't think he knew how to show it. So when I was about 15, I started looking for love in those places where I wasn't finding it at home, and had a lot of boyfriends, and started dabbling a little bit with pot. And after pot, of course, alcohol came, and then harder drugs than that, and I was having a really, really good time. But nobody explained to me that the way I was living my life would profoundly impact my future. I was promiscuous, I drank a lot, even though I swore I would never be like my dad. That's what was modeled for me, so I didn't learn anything else. And I married my first husband, and that didn't last a very long time, but I have 2 kids with my first husband, and which I'm very thankful for them. And when after we divorced, then came Dennis. And to shorten the story a little bit, we got married in 1986. And I was still drinking at the time, and I don't know exactly what caused me to stop. Oh yeah, well, it could have been the time that I was taken away in a police car and put at 2 North, which was the psychiatric center at Rogue Valley Medical Center, because I was out there on alcohol and drugs. So, but I didn't have a problem. I didn't have a problem. Everybody else had the problem. August 12th, 1989. I don't know what made me stop, because Alcoholics Anonymous had a revolving door for me before that time. And I walked into Alcoholics Anonymous on August 12th, 1989 for the last time, and I knew in my heart that it was done, that I was going to stay. And I knew that I was going to remain sober. I don't know why, but I did. And about the 3rd month into my sobriety, they asked me to take over the Alcoholics Anonymous morning meeting, and I was like, well, that's really crazy. I only have 3 months, you know, but I did. And I read a book by Chuck C. called A New Pair of Glasses, and that book is now out of print. But he said something in the 2nd or 3rd chapter of that book that said that I was chosen before the foundation of the universe, and it made me laugh because I was thinking of my past life and what a wreck it was, and that he chose me before the foundation of the universe, and he knew me like that, but still I was chosen. And I shared that in that meeting, and it was just this, you know, this aha, this flat forehead moment, you know, like I could have had a V8. It was just one of those moments, and it just stuck with me, and I just started to feel that God really loved me. But the icing on the cake came about a year after my 1-year sobriety date. I was getting ready to take the kids camping, and I asked Dennis if he would go with me, and he had this golf tournament that he would rather be in than to go camping with me. Come on. But anyway, so I was kind of mad, and I remember throwing the last sleeping bag into the back of the car and saying to myself, okay, you stay and you golf. This is like a really important date to me. I've not been able to stay sober this long ever. And I might have even said that to him, you know, because I've grown a little bit since then. So I put the kids in the car, and we started driving to our favorite campground, which is Harris Beach Park. And Harris Beach Park is on the Oregon coast. And so we drove over to Harris Beach Park, and we got there and pulled up to Harris Beach Park, and the campground lady said, there's no slots left, there's no camp spaces left. We're like, what? There's always campsites left, always. What's going on? And she says, I'm really sorry, I have no idea what's going on, but we're booked. And she said to me, I heard that at Loeb State Park, which is at the end of the Smith River, up the road a piece, they have a couple of sites left. So my kids in the back seat started whining, and they said, okay, if you would have gotten up early, Mom, you know, we could have gotten here, there would have been campsites and everything. And I said, just shut up and start praying. And so I heard my son ask my daughter, well, what's praying? Because he wasn't with us the first part of my sobriety, and so he didn't understand that, but my daughter said, oh, it's what mom does when she's in trouble. And so just start to pray for a campground at Loeb State Park. And so they were in the back seat. I don't know whether they were praying or not, but I certainly was. Because I know as I left Medford, I was thinking, oh man, this has been such a tough year. I just wish I could get a meeting tonight. But I knew my kids wouldn't want to go to a meeting in a smoky-filled room with a bunch of sick people like me, so I just knew that wasn't an option. So we drove to Loeb State Park, and lo and behold, there was one campsite left. And we backed into this campsite, and my son said to me, Mom, let's drive around and see if there isn't one closer to the river. And I said, no, let's just park right here, and let's walk around and see if there's another one. And if there's another one, then you stay in that campsite, and I'll drive the car around. So as we're walking around, I see at the very end, you know those big campsites where they have these big parties and everything? Well, there were a bunch of cars in there, and they all were sporting bumper stickers that said, honk if you love Bill Wilson, who's the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous. Keep it simple, stupid. And I was like, whoa, this is like amazing. So there was a young lady sitting on the tailgate of a truck smoking a cigarette, and I said, what's going on here? And she very skeptically looked at me and she said, are you a friend of Bill's? And I said, I am, and as a matter of fact, today is my first year free of drugs and alcohol. And she jumped out of the back of the truck and she gave me this big hug and she says, wow, tonight is the first annual Brookings chapter of Alcoholics Anonymous Camp Out. And there's a meeting here tonight at 8 o'clock. What God had to do to get that all orchestrated for me so I could have my meeting. I went to that meeting. I was able to share what God had done in that whole last year. My kids were able to play with other sick people's kids. I mean, it was just like this. It was so awesome, and I knew that God had moved heaven and earth for me, the one He had chosen before the foundation of the universe, with all my warts and everything else. He had moved heaven and earth for me to give me the desire of my heart on my first AA birthday. At that point, I knew. I knew that God really, really loved me, and God started to work in my life in ways that I hadn't anticipated. And when I finally came to know Jesus, I continued to go to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, but those people were not happy, joyous, and free. They were really missing something more. And I came to the realization that it wasn't Alcoholics Anonymous. Although they did teach me how to live life without alcohol, it was Jesus. It was Jesus that made the difference. It was He who allowed me to walk in the freedom without alcohol, without drugs. He gave me a second chance at life.